We're live on the internet. Get off.
Good evening, internet.
I have been so excited to. Editing has become like my obsession in finding ways to make this cleaner and better looking. And putting together that video, like my entire thing was like, I need a countdown, but I need a song that can match with the countdown so it ends right. Anyway, I'm a nerd. Moving on.
I don't think we ever move on from the two of us being nerds. I don't think we do.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm doing okay. Things are crazy. My kids are visiting. I went 3 months without seeing my kids in the midst of all the COVID insanity. So they are now hanging out with me for a couple of weeks, and we're going to New York, upstate New York, over the next couple of days to my parents. And so next Sunday, you all will not see the lovely blank white wall behind me. It'll probably be a different blank white wall behind me. But
variety is the spice of life.
It is. So I'm packing up all of my podcasting gear and monitors and microphones and headphones and all that crap and heading west a little bit.
I'll shout out Sheffley, who's one of our regular watchers, who gave me some feedback. She's like, I feel like your background really just, everyone knows who you are. So much of your personality is there. Jake just seems so much cleaner. There's just nothing. And I'm like, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I appreciate the feedback. I was like, I kind of like having the personality, but okay.
I'm trying to add personality, by which I mean, like, I have a poster to hang up, but I haven't actually hung it up yet. Come see how the world could be.
Yes.
Because, good Lord, it couldn't be crazier than it is right now.
Mm-hmm. Every time I feel like someone says that, it's an invitation for bad things.
I try not to be superstitious. I really do. But somebody says something like that, and I'm like, oh, shut up.
So I got a present for the stream. I'm super excited. Yeah. For my background, just because I figured there wasn't enough personality. And there's a longer story that goes along with this, but I picked this up yesterday. I dropped this off to be framed 3 weeks before quarantine started.
Oh my God.
The place just opened up this week. So.
Oh, very nice.
So for anyone that doesn't know, kind of do you think it's fair to say sort of the roots of Tribal Mischief really came from the Boston Strong efforts that you and I kind of put in?
Yeah, they did.
When the Boston bombing happened, Jake and I, spent a lot of time trying to talk about what, as musicians and as people within our community, we could do to help. And I think that's really where sort of Tribal Mischief came to be. And this particular piece of art was a piece of art that a wonderful artist, musician Dan Blakesley, did, and it took off. It's two hands over the the Zakim Bridge. And it was more or less our unofficial logo for a while. And I was lucky enough to get three original prints from Dan. And I gave the first two away to Scott Jones, who we were on the lounge stage with, and to Matt Raymer, who has co-produced and mastered all of our records. And the third one's from me. I'm not giving it to anyone. I'm keeping it. It's mine.
I give it 6 months before he's like, I have to give it to someone. No. All right.
No, you can buy art and give it away next time.
That's fair.
I've done my part. Done my part.
You definitely have.
So we're dead smack in the middle of our first season right here. We are episode 6.
Yeah.
And I'm excited because it feels, even though it's all the same season, I feel like we're bookending it to some extent, because we did our first episode with Adam, and we're going to do our second episode with Karina. And these two are, sorry?
Our 6th episode, not our second.
I said 6th, didn't I? I have no idea.
Go ahead.
I can't remember what I said. Who are you?
Go ahead.
But Karina and Adam, we've been lucky to play with them a couple times. You played with them a bunch, actually, fairly recently, which I assume we're going to talk about.
Yeah, it'll probably come up. Yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine, which is super exciting. If for no other reason, then we're actually talking about live music for the first time in a very long time, and that's going to be a fun conversation.
Oh, yeah. We're psyched to talk about it, much less talk to somebody who actually got to do it.
Yeah. And you got to do it, so I hate you. But I'm really excited. Like that, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for what they were able to pull off. That was amazing. So wonderful, and what the venue did to make all of this possible. It's going to be really fun. And one of the things that we love about Adam is he is so connected to his community and so connected to his belief in community and what that means, and that there is a debt that is owed to community by the nature of being part of it.
He does not take for granted. That's what I love is some of the most talented people that we know never for a second take for granted the people that got them there, keep them there. I mean, he still talks about one of his fans that was a very early fan. Everyone knows her as Supergirl, and she even got featured on one of his shows this weekend. So, to start with him and to bring Karina on is really, really cool.
And I guess what I'm particularly sort of excited to talk about is, it's one thing to be an artist and to care and to do work. It's another thing to create a group of people to support you on stage, but also who actively have deep-rooted beliefs and deep-rooted commitment to the same kind of thing. And I'm excited to hear from Karina on that, because we're going to talk about some of the work that she does. So I'm jazzed about that. Other than that, we've got some announcements to get through. What are you drinking tonight? We'll start with what are you drinking?
I'm deciding, and by deciding I mean I'm starting with one. And
you've already consumed something, so I feel like deciding isn't the right word.
That is Larceny small batch, a wheated bourbon. I think it's bottled by Evan Williams. I'm not sure. Bottled by Old Fitzgerald Distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky. The other one for you nerds out there is Relativity American whiskey. 6-month-old whiskey, but they are using science, and they're pressurizing it in the barrel, so they're aging it more. They're trying to beat aging by making it happen more quickly. So those will be this evening. What about you? You had something fancy looking. That's very fancy looking.
I made a Mai Tai. I made a Mai Tai. I even got a pineapple specifically just so I could take a frond and put it in the top.
If this is not you and me in a microcosm, you've got me, where I'm like, I'm just going to pour this into this, and then I'm going to drink it. And Ethan, I'm sure, researched the best Mai Tai recipes. He knows it's probably supposed to have a pineapple frond in it. And so that's his drink. And mine's like, I'm just going to drink this thing.
I complicate everything. It's safe to say. That being said, cultural infidel, I'm super jazzed you're here. Not that I was worried. You've been here pretty much every week since we started. Yeah. You are one of the few, and it's always good to see you back. So just doing that quick shout out. So as far as announcements, what do you got?
Well,
we'll start with you, and then we'll circle around to me.
Well, I think we have merch, right? We got some merch up. You can find it through our website.
Yeah. It's on our YouTube channel. Actually, if you're watching on Twitch, it's a link right down
somewhere. Didn't you have you had something for this? You have something for this.
I do. I don't know that I uploaded it, but we've been trying to sort of figure out the merch thing and what we really want to do, and who and what we want to sort of feature, like what speaks to who we are. And of course I say this, and I think it now is clear that what we feature is alcoholism, but This is a notebook, Tribal Mischief notebook that you can get that I got and took a picture of, and clearly it was so important that I had the drink in front of it. By the way, wonderful drink. It's called the Forbidden Dragon. I highly recommend it because, I'm big into tiki drinks right now. I don't know why. I love rum. Rum's my favorite. But, so, yeah, we got merch and more coming. I haven't told you, but I've started putting together our first shirt, which I'm sure you're going to love, by which I mean hate. Love, hate, kind of like me. But I'm excited about that. It stems from our conversation last week with Beth Bethlehem.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Particularly in how you choose to convey yourself over podcast. So I'm excited about that. Working with an illustrator on it. And other than that, we've started talking to people about sponsorship, which is about some of the things we're coming about with that. And we've got the lounge stage coming up, man.
Yes.
We're going to be doing a whole night of music in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We should probably, figure out what we're doing.
I thought, wait, was I supposed to make the cut, or were you gonna? Oh, crap. See, that's where you zoom in, Ethan. This is the spot for the zoom in, is right on the eyes. Yep. Someone out there with more creativity than me, please meme that, because that's just creepy.
I'm going to be a meme when this is all done. I have no doubt. So we're excited about that stuff. We just so people know, the way that this works is we start on Twitch and on Facebook, but we're only doing it on Facebook for about 20-25 minutes. The reason for that is Facebook does everything they can to hide video once a video happens, where Twitch will help promote you, will pay you for doing things. And you can head over there. You don't even need an account. You can just head over to our Twitch station or Twitch channel, and you can watch us live there. We are responding to comments on either side, but just want to let you know, is if you head over there, it helps us out in a bunch of different ways. One way is really easy. So for the people that are already over there, what makes us happy, super, super happy, is there are 2 ways you can support us. One is just by following us. Costs you nothing. It just is a little heart button. And I know you're looking at me and you're saying, Ethan, I don't know where your heart button is. Where could it possibly be? Right there. Right there. I went through the process of making a graphic because I got tired of too many people being like, I can't find it.
All right, so what made you happier, the overlay or the intro tonight, the musical intro?
What makes me happier? The musical intro makes me happy only because I got the perfect timing of the end right as it hits zero. It's the symmetry of me. But I did want to just sort of help folks out. If you can hit the follow, that's awesome. It really helps us. And if you feel so inclined, you can subscribe to our channel. And what that gets you is everything we do this live is free live. You can watch us whenever we're live. You can watch us, no problems, no whatever. If you want to watch what we've done after the fact, after an episode's aired, you can either wait a week, at which point we toss it up on our YouTube channel, or if you want to watch it right away, you have to subscribe to our Twitch channel. And there are 2 ways to do that. One is you pay $5. The other is if you have Amazon Prime, you can give us $5 for free. It costs you nothing. You just click Prime subscription, and we get paid, and you get to watch whatever you want, and no other money exchanges hands. It's kind of a good deal, or I hope it's a good deal. So, that's. I hope we're worth nothing. So that's sort of what we're doing.
A little higher. Aim a little higher.
A little higher. So we're doing that. And I think from a housekeeping perspective, that's really what I want to talk about. We are finalizing the rest of the guests for the entire season. We're not at a point where we're announcing that, but generally speaking, every Tuesday after the show, we announce who our following guest is. You'll be seeing a bunch of that in the near future. The lounge stage, it looks like we're going to have either 12 or 15 artists. And from all over the place, for the people that don't know us, the lounge stage is something that we do at the Falcon Ridge Folk Festival. We've done for over 10 years.
Well, you might have seen Adam Ezra Group play.
Yeah. the sad part is festivals aren't happening this summer. But the positive part is normally there are a lot of wonderful people that want us, or that we want to play, but they're from Alberta, Canada, or they're from all over, and getting them to play our stage for free, because we're doing it for free, we're not getting paid. It's asking a lot. It's asking slightly less when I'm asking them to do it from their living room. So
Yeah.
I think this is opening up some wonderful opportunities. So we're excited about that.
So we're gonna talk about we're gonna introduce our guest here. She's been popping in and out of our backstage green room, virtual backstage area. So Karina shared, I think it's on her website, she shared some of this with us, but she was cast as the only American in the internationally touring fiddle pop sensation Barrage. Ethan's gonna drink and listen to the stories. She spent a year teaching music at the Mandeville Conservatory in Singapore. She brought her fiddle to Africa and played on the summit of Kilimanjaro to raise funds for a local school. She's, good Lord, she's already done more good for the world than I ever will. She's taken her violin to Bolivia. So AEG, Adam Ezra Group's bassist Poche, they have an animal sanctuary in Bolivia. So she's played down there. And just before lockdown, she was up in the Northwest Territories playing music and hiking. She has shared lots of great pictures and video from her adventures all over the world. We are very, very happy to have join us this evening, Karina Smith. And her video froze just as I brought it in.
She's there. I promise she's there. There we go.
There we are.
Hey guys.
Good
How
to
you doing?
see you.
Hi.
Where are you?
It's great to see you both. It's nice to be here. I'm at home. This is my apartment in Waltham, just outside of Boston.
Nice.
Jake and I are both very familiar with Waltham, having gone to school there.
We met at Brandeis, as a matter of fact.
A cappella group in Brandeis University.
I don't think I knew that.
You are getting lots of love. I will put some of it up here just to share and make sure that you can see it. We've got Robin Tarka with her profile picture is her, and I believe that's Adam.
Yeah.
That's Adam.
I'm going to say this for all the AEG fans. Y'all need some profile photos with Karina, too. Not to take anything away from Adam, but we do love Karina as well. I for one, love taking photos with Karina when I'm at these shows, because one of my oldest friends, Scott, who's been mentioned here, loves Adam Ezra Group, loves Adam, loves Karina, and so every time I hang out with these guys, I take pictures and send them to Scott. So, so how have you been doing, Karina? Things have been crazy, but a little bit back to normal. Like, catch us up a little bit.
Normal is a strange word these days. I don't know what normal means anymore, but today I am doing great. It's, I think all of us have these sort of ups and downs we go through these days. I just got to play my first shows in 4 months this past weekend, and because you were there, we got to play together.
I was, yeah. That was crazy. Tupelo Music Hall turned their parking lot into a venue, and they park people, and you get, a space for your car and a space to sit. I think my wife just reminded me that I think I sanitized my hands just before I got up on stage and played the accordion there. What was that like? Like, what did they have set up for you guys? Sorry, Ethan drinking his Mai Tai is just going to make me laugh all night.
Well, yeah, I can go through the logistics. The experience itself is I was thinking about this, it's kind of indescribable. I'll do my best to tell you about it. They have their staff working all in masks. All of the indoor spaces, we all wear masks as well. and everyone is distanced and everything is sanitized every single day. So they're being really, really careful. They're not allowing guests to come into the indoor space. And then when we're on stage, then the masks come off, but we're still on this big stage with no one else in our immediate vicinity. So we're at a very safe distance, like, 20 to 50 feet from the next nearest person. So I felt like it was a really responsible way to do it. I think they are pros. I mean, they had it just set up beautifully. We did a video shoot also the morning of the 5th before our afternoon show there. And it was the same kind of deal. It was a 6-camera crew. Everyone had a mask. Everyone was far apart from each other. We were on the stage far apart from them. And so they're just doing things in a really, really thoughtful, responsible way, and still putting on a hell of a fun event each day, which was just so cool to be part of.
So much of those shows is, it's about, community and everybody getting together and all of that. And it was incredible to see, I think everybody sort of wondered how that was going to play out, because you can't do that, even walking around like you weren't supposed to walk around. So it was really amazing to see you guys interacting like nothing was different, interacting with each other and interacting with the crowds. Did that feel any differently from stage for you?
That weekend, that was one of the most impactful and fulfilling 2 days of my life, honestly. I think for me, my career as a musician is sort of a side effect of needing to share music in order to feel connected and human and sane. The career is just like the way that I do that. Even when I was a little kid, I wanted to take music lessons so that I could play with my family. When I was in college, my version of parties, being a nerd myself, was to invite my friends over and we'd stay up all night and play music together. So I've like had that in some sense since I was 3 years old. I've never not had it before, and without it, I questioned everything in my life. I questioned my whole identity. So being able to share music again with both my bandmates and with the community that we know and love was like coming home. It was like, this is going to sound so cheesy, but I felt like I found a piece of my heart that day.
And so you talked about, you and I have chatted a little bit through, through the pandemic and all that stuff. And you told me a bit about like how you were having such a hard time. And it's interesting that you say that, it was probably the distance from the music. And we've heard that, we were chatting before we went live on the internet this evening, about sort of withdrawing and pulling back and really trying to find your own space. And we've had Bethlehem, the vocustionist, was on the podcast last week. She was saying the same thing. And we have other friends
I thought, yeah.
and having a good time. So
yeah. Well, I was gonna say, it's a little bit uncomfortable to talk about, because I think these days I try and see myself less as like the hero of my own story, which I think we all do sometimes, and more as part of something that's bigger than myself and not always good either. So I feel a little bit uncomfortable sharing my own struggle when I know that there are other voices that are so important right now and other perspectives that are so much more critical than them. But I also can't speak to anyone else's perspective. So I'll share a little of what I was going through, but with the knowledge that there are other voices that are really important to listen to these days.
We tend to have some very mindful people on here, Ethan. I think that's what it comes down to.
Oh, we need someone to offset me. Is the
Us.
I mean, I think all of us these days, in addition to the isolation, we're all having to open our eyes, if they weren't open before, to systemic racism, painful discussions, maybe losing relationships with loved ones over these discussions, and examining our own problematic thoughts and actions too. And that's really overwhelming sometimes. On top of that, we're isolated. We're on our own. We may have loved ones who are sick. We can't help them. We can't be with them. Maybe we lost our jobs. Maybe we're working 60 hours a week in terrible conditions that are really scary. I think these are just really tough times for all of us. We don't have access maybe to the routine that kept us feeling okay mentally. And so I struggled with all of those things. Personally, there were days where I just felt paralyzed. I didn't want to play music. I didn't want to do anything. And there are still days where I have to take a step away from the news for a day. And I recognize that that's privilege too, that I can step away from the news for a day. So I don't really have any answers on that one, but that's how I've been doing. It's up and down, and I'm trying to remember that there are people whose voices need to be heard more than mine right now.
It is, Jake mentioned that last week, our conversation with Bethlehem really centered around her taking this opportunity because you're forced to step away from so much of the regular day-to-day and really asking the question, who am I? Which literally is the name of the art that she put out, which is a wonderful video. If you ever get a chance, I highly recommend you check it out.
Yeah.
But she and I got into a whole thing, and I apologize to anyone that was here last week, because I definitely, she and I feel we're sharing our existential crises together. She did hers in a far more wonderfully artistic giving way than me. It was just like, I feel the same way. But there is, I like the way you sort of put it, is that this particularly for people who have lived with some level of privilege, that sort of natural human inclination to see yourself as the hero of your own story. Like right now, I think no matter who you are, like literally no matter who you are, that's something you have to question.
Yeah.
Hopefully make something productive come out of that.
Yep.
And I feel like it's very insightful, I think, for both us, me and Ethan, as well as a lot of the folks watching, because that's really why we brought you on. You are part of this community, obviously in a very visible way, very participatory way, but you probably wouldn't be the first person that a lot of folks call for an interview or something like that. They're going to call Adam. But we know that you're very active. We know, I put in my notes that you are one of the smiliest artists I have ever seen on stage. We have a Canadian friend, Mike Kerr, who is just a muppet of a dude. And I want to put the two of you on stage just so I can watch you two smile at each other. Because I don't know anyone who just looked genuinely, you and Adam both, but you so genuinely are enjoying being up there, are enjoying being part of that. For the small part, for the small part that I got to participate in, I was just thrilled to death to be a part of that music and be a part of that community. And for the 3 minutes, I said to somebody, I played on the song Miss Hallelujah, and I swear to God that song's about 4 seconds long, because by the time I realize that I'm on stage with you guys, the song's over.
That literally has been, so we have a Spotify playlist of all of the folks that we've had on the show, and that is the first song on the playlist. And it's also been my biking and workout playlist, and that's a really great first song. Unfortunately, it goes right into ballads after that, which is less useful from the workout perspective. But it's a really good way to kick it off.
So it really makes sense then how much more that weekend meant to you to like get back into to get back in that community and visibly. We watched this, through Adam and the Gathering and those shows where you guys would hang out in the beginning. And you would do shows because it was just the two of you, and it's so fine. It's a small group, and then sort of realize, well, this is a terrible idea, or not the safest. And
right.
It was always great to see even the 4-way video, things that you guys did, and you all got to do the a little bit of the Brady Bunch, like smiling, and around and having fun.
We had fun with that.
So how long does it take you to play in one of those things? I have to ask because I tried to do one and it failed miserably. You guys did a few of them. You had some fun with those?
Oh yeah, those were really fun. We used the app called Acapella, which is like an iPhone app.
Yeah.
And so each person would record their part and then layer it, send it to the next who would layer their part on top. So we weren't actually getting to play live with each other, but we were still getting to play with each other, which, man, did I miss that. It was fun.
So you got to go back and watch it then and be like, oh, it's almost like we're actually playing together. So through this, you mentioned at one point, was it a couple of weekends ago now, last weekend before, last weekend. God, am I the only one that time just kind of doesn't exist for anymore? Anyone? Just time is It was a week ago. So somewhere along the way, you actually got the virus too, right?
We're not sure. My doctor thinks that I had the virus in April. My symptoms were very mild. I was the most tired I've ever been in my life. I slept for like 20 to 22 hours a day for about a week. Had a low fever and nothing else, and then I recovered fully. So if I had it, it was a very mild case.
Does that count as herd immunity in that band when at least two of you have had it?
Don't think it's worth testing. I'm not volunteering
about how we were going to get back together and whether we were going to do gatherings together indoors. That's a bigger risk than doing an outdoor show together. And ultimately, we all kind of decided, well, we're quarantining on our own. I'm not seeing anybody else, and so this is my family now. These are the people that I am seeing, and I'm not going to spread it around to other people.
Right.
And that's such a interesting, like that's, I when I think about sort of the stages of this experience, I feel like that's the stage that some of us are starting to come into, because so many of us just retreated inward and the full quarantine. I'm in my house, I'm in my apartment, I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
And now, we're 3.5, 4 months into this. And the question is, who can I now go see? Like when, and how can that be done? And the level of sort of trust that goes along with that, I think is really, you learn really quickly who you trust and who's a part of your life. I think when you make that decision. I
agree.
Go ahead.
Yeah. We're not sure if we made the right decision. We hope we made the right decision. It's really hard to know these days.
It is, but for what it's worth, I think you made and the band in general tends to make very thoughtful decisions. Like you do a really good job of not doing things necessarily the easy way, but thinking through how can this be done best for everybody. And I appreciate that. We talked to Adam about Blackout Tuesday and his response to that. And, when I was trying to do a little research, because while we've met a number of times, that's really our only interactions have been at those shows. I was like, I'm going to YouTube find out what, and I found the video of you doing quarantine music for people in retirement homes and elderly facilities. And I was like, she really is just super awesome.
Thanks. Well, that project was started by a friend of mine from Michigan, Diana Ladio, and it's called Music by My Side. And there are, I think now, like 200 or 300 videos that all these musicians have submitted. And she's working with nursing homes, hospitals, and care facilities, and sending all these videos out to people who are isolated, can't be with their families. And it's just like, it's such a small thing, but it can mean a lot to someone.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the challenges I've seen it through this experience is finding ways not to be lonely alone, and finding ways to find that connection, and the gathering for a whole lot of people has been one of their touchstones, their daily touchstones. And I love sort of seeing the work that Adam and the entire group has done in that space. That being said, I'm interested as we look forward to sort of the rest of the year and how important that is, the efforts that you're putting in with some of the projects that you have, in particular as it relates to registration of voters, I believe, something along those lines. Maybe you can perhaps talk a little bit about that.
Nice segue.
Honestly, I'm always thankful for the opportunity to talk about it. It's like that helps just to have the discussion. So I had this idea in 2017, implemented it in 2018, where at every show that I play anywhere in the country, I have voter registration materials on hand. I can register people before or after we play. I have state by information, like voting laws and polling places and all that kind of stuff. And 200 shows a year all over the country with Adam, that was a huge opportunity. So that felt really good. To be honest, the registrations themselves took a little bit of a backseat to the discussion, just because AEG fans, so many of them are already really engaged in the system. And so most of the people I would interact with were already registered. But it led to really good discussions. There were some nights where I registered a bunch of people. My record was 12 in one night. I think it's a little over 200 total now that I'm up to, which is
awesome.
Not huge, but it's something to be proud of. Yeah, thank you.
It really is.
Yeah, thanks. So I feel like just keeping the project going, even if I'm not registering people all the time, hopefully it's leading to good discussions with then my community, and they take it to their community. And, even among registered voters, we still have a super, super low turnout. And to be able to have any kind of impact on that would make me really happy too.
Well, I mean, it's when you sort of dissect the frustrations that most people are having within sort of the structure of how this country works, so much of it, and I might be oversimplifying, but so much of it really just boils down to a lack of connection to what's going on until you're dealing with the ramifications. So, I wholeheartedly believe that what you're doing is sort of the most important first step to addressing that, getting people to at least understand that if you are an American, you have both a right and a privilege to be part of this grand experiment of ours, and to ensure that you don't say every year is like, what could I have done? Well, at the very least, you could show up and vote. There's other stuff too. That would be great as well. But, just to start.
And I think that this is a particularly disheartening election cycle for a lot of people. I think a lot of my friends and myself feel really disappointed with where things are and what our choices are. And, you know, for people who aren't disappointed, that's great too. But I think a lot of us do feel disheartened. I also think, though, that this is one of the most important cycles for us moving forward. In order to have better choices, we need to be making choices now. We need to all be engaged. And so I do feel passionate about that, even though I'm also like grieving the process a little bit.
It's I think one of the things that we gave Adam a lot of credit for the fact that, well, I think it would be hard not to understand his politics if you were paying attention. He also isn't particularly exclusionary in the way that he chooses to interact and relate to the community, which is so inspiring to just like, I'll throw it on the table. I'm a crazy lefty, son of a crazy lefty, grandson of a crazy Unitarian Universalist lefty. I say the UU part only because he was a minister. So like there's a long-standing sort of cultural, social progressivism that I've inherited. I don't even want to say that I decided at some point. It's just sort of who I am. So I throw that on the table. But that being said, my day job is working in a very conservative industry with very conservative people. And one of the things I've always enjoyed about that dichotomy is I've had a lot of really wonderful conversations where I've been able to figure out where people are coming from, but also to perhaps provide someone's input that doesn't happen to be named Rush Limbaugh or Fox News or any of that. And I think being able to talk to people in particular right now, and I give you again credit going back to the registration. Sometimes just being able to talk to people is as good of a interaction as you can hope to have when it comes to this subject. Yeah, I guess that's all I particularly have on that. But I'm interested in particular because you are a worldly individual, Karina. You travel. you have been to amazing places and you have done amazing things. So in particular, we're all going through our particular hurdles as it relates to this quarantine thing. But how does a worldly continent hopping human such as yourself deal with the same four walls for 120 days in a row?
That's an insightful question. It is it's not easy. I have done a lot of daydreaming about all the places I want to go once it's safe to go there again.
My girlfriend and I have literally pulled out the world map and just started being like, this would be a nice place, and this would be a nice place, and this would be a nice place. We have friend Justin Nordell, our guest from 2 weeks ago. He and his partner just started booking flights to various places, being like, if they have to cancel, we'll get our money back, but we're going to do it just in case.
Of course, this thing probably won't happen, but just in case.
It's like aspirational vacation planning, which I love. I think that's brilliant and beautiful.
That's great.
But anyway, so I've really loved in particular this weekend getting to know from a resume perspective more about what you're doing, and it just sort of made me think more and more about how vastly different this life experience is for some people. Not that this is, I think there are very few people that could look at the last 120 days and say, oh yeah, it's normal. But there's a difference between,
especially
I guess
one that plays 200 gigs a year.
Yeah. We had Ellis Paul on 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we're talking to him about someone that spent well over 20 years playing 200 plus shows, a year, putting 80,000 plus miles on his car every year. And all of a sudden, having a conversation with him, and he's like, yeah, I've filled up the tank twice in the last month and a half. Like, it's a very different life experience.
Yeah. I'm lucky that I live in a place and I have a car, and so I can like get out of town and go for a hike and not run into any people and be perfectly safe. And I know that there are lots of people, friends of mine included, who don't have that option, and it's so much harder.
Yeah.
I would say that one of the nice things, because we're all in Massachusetts, is the number of sort of state parks and trails. I'm lucky. I've got 2 state parks within 15 minutes of me, and about 35 publicly kept up trails. So, like you, I've been getting out pretty much every day and doing my best, and that's been my way of avoiding going nuts. But again, when we talked to our friends, we had with the folks from Gangster Grass, who I think Randy lives in downtown Philadelphia. I probably a very different experience.
Yeah, certainly.
How are you keeping your sanity? I see a couple of fiddles there, which we're going to get to momentarily. How else are you keeping your sanity through all this?
Well, okay, this is going to really reveal my nerdiness, but I've been watching a lot of movies, which I feel like probably most of us have. And I realized a little while ago that I really wanted to study film music. I couldn't find an online course that was exactly what I wanted. I felt like they were either for someone who was actively becoming a film composer or for someone who didn't know anything about music yet. So I've created my own syllabus that I've been following. It's true.
So what's been the
stay sane?
As someone threading the needle of those two things, what are you finding sort of like your primary points of focus in that area? Given that you clearly have some understanding of music, but perhaps haven't done full 128 channel orchestrations before.
Yeah, well, so right now I'm studying light motifs, which if you're not a musician, that word just means it's a tiny piece of music that represents an idea or a character, and it can get manipulated as the story progresses. One of like the classic examples would be Star Wars. Each character has sort of their theme and those kind of twisted. And each week I'm watching different movies with the express goal of studying the motives and motifs within the movie, which is really fun.
Any surprising favorites or
Frozen 2. I am not kidding. That movie is phenomenal.
You heard it here. Frozen 2. Oh my goodness.
Disney Plus has been interesting. I signed up for that, and I think, as everyone does, gave my account signature to my mother and my brother. And my mother called me up last week, and she's like, "Have you heard of this Hamilton thing? It's pretty great."
Oh my God. I watched that with my kids this weekend. I introduced them to Hamilton years ago, and that was how I introduced cursing to my children. It was we have an explicit tag, so I can say this. It was funny when my kids are 11 and 12 now, and my son was he would have been I think 8 or 9. And he knew that explicit meant that this track had cursing in it, but he said he didn't know what word it was. And so I had to explain to my 9-year-old son that shat is the past tense of shit. So thanks, Lin-Manuel Miranda, for that. That was great. But I watched it with my kids this weekend, and so at some point we watched Act 1 last night. We watched Act 2 today, and there was a point right towards the end of Act 2 where I've got my I think my daughter was on my left, my son was on my right, and the three of us are sobbing uncontrollably at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Have you watched it?
Yeah, I watched it. That was kind of the reason that I got Disney Plus. I got it like the day before Hamilton was coming to it.
Yeah. Have you watched it yet, Ethan?
I have.
You have?
No, we watched it right away, as did all 1,000 Facebook friends of mine, because I'm fairly certain that is the only point of discussion that anyone had for 3 days.
At least it's something that we could agree on. I mean, most of our friends, music and a lot of theater nerds. But
yeah.
Well, those fiddles have been looking rather forlorn there on the couch beside you. Do you want to play us a couple tunes, maybe?
Love to. Yeah. In fact, how about I start with this guy instead?
Yes, please.
That would be wonderful. We had an actual. We had a professional banjo player on a few weeks ago, and he didn't play. And he didn't play the banjo. He played the guitar. So I am so excited to have our banjo.
I am not a professional banjo player, but I do feel like sometimes it's really fun to write songs on an instrument that you're not as familiar with, because you can kind of come up with different things that are out of your pattern. So thought I'd start with one that I wrote a long time ago. I've somehow been just playing it a lot these days. And it's a breakup song, and it's called My Love is a Rambler. And I wrote it about a decade ago now. It's one of the first songs I ever wrote.
That was absolutely lovely.
Thank you. I love playing the banjo. That's been one of my quarantine hobbies, is like playing more banjo these days. You know, the violin by itself is just not quite as fun as like playing violin with a group of people. The banjo can kind of stand on its own a little more easily.
I thought you were going in a different direction. Part of me was just waiting for someone to say, you know, the violin doesn't really just warm up a room quite like a banjo does on its own. As the music partner to a professional accordion player, I love it when those moments happen.
I was going to say, I definitely understand. You know, the accordion's my primary instrument now, and I'm, you know, when I'm hanging around at home, I'm not like, I'm going to break out the accordion and play for a bit. I sit down at the piano, you know, and I play that. So I definitely understand. Folks are loving the music, by the way. Lots of applause.
Do you have another one for us?
Sure. Let's see. Let's do this guy. All right. This is kind of a weird fiddle. I don't play this one super often, but it's got 5 strings. So it's got a cello low, or a viola low C at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I've also got it tuned really weirdly.
Wow.
Which is to right.
The guitar back here is open tuning, so I'm with you.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, let's see how this goes. So this is something I wrote a while ago too, and I've been kind of revisiting lately. I'm calling it Combo Breaker. Oh, thanks.
That was lovely.
I was waiting for Ethan to bring us back. We both have like host controls, and so when you see a lot of this kind of stuff where things are going in and out, that's me and Ethan both, like clicking buttons at the same time. So I'm just leaving it to him and letting him do it so I don't screw it up. More applause. Ethan, God damn it.
I got it.
Oh, Lord.
That is the platform that we've chosen is wonderful in so many ways, but it's one of those, the way that Jake and I are both IT people, so we're both like, I got it, and the stuttering that occurs because of it is quite funny for us. Probably makes everyone else think that we're crazy, but either way, I appreciate it. Grubbits 54 out in California is clapping for us. That's, I think, the furthest away we got tonight.
Oh.
Other than that, I heard there was a Baltimore earlier.
Yep.
And I think in North Carolina, but I don't believe anyone's got Grubbits beat for distance.
Nope. And that's got to be about our second farthest. We had a UK, I think, when Ellis was on. That was about. And I think if we were going to have,
because we also had
Karina's video lockup at any point, I think just a lockup of her smiling that'll hold until she comes back.
I feel like she's actively moving, and the smile is just how she is. She it's not frozen. That's just how she was. Good to have you back, Karina.
Welcome back.
Thanks.
Would love to get one more, and then we'll get into some more questions. But if you're comfortable with that, you brought 3 instruments. I feel like not giving you a third song would just be rude.
Sure, yeah. I was thinking about what another thing could be to do, especially as, like I mentioned, like a violin on its own is usually, that's not how I usually play it, and I don't think that's where it shines the most. But I thought I would try something kind of crazy. I have been a classical musician my whole life as well, and that's still something that means a lot to me. One of the first that I came back to when I started playing music again was a big fat book of solo Bach pieces. So if you're willing to get a little classical for a couple minutes, I thought I would play a little Bach for you.
I'm game.
Which I clearly, obviously did not write this one. This is the Largo from his Sonata in C major.
Yes. was trying to unmute ourselves so we could clap for you, and I was just failing. That was beautiful.
Thank
I think it's
you.
better. We'll just have the visual clapping. It's probably
As a fellow classic music nerd, my degree is in music composition. But I went to Brandeis, where all of the professors were atonal composers. So I feel like all I learned from that was how to write stuff that no one wants to listen to. But I love really, really well played, particularly solo. Bach and Beethoven tend to be my favorite things. Piano more for the Beethoven stuff. That was lovely. That was really lovely.
Yeah.
probably one of the only times we'll have classical music. Most of a lot of musicians have backgrounds in classical, but
Yeah.
Ethan and I are folk nerds, for those of you who hadn't figured that out yet. So classical does not come up very often, but so Karina, you just celebrated a birthday a week ago, if I'm not mistaken.
I did. Oh, a week ago today. That's right.
Yeah. So when I went up to Tupelo, I have a tradition of bringing our friends Adam Ezra Group whiskey. If you don't know the band, they do enjoy their whiskey. And I know that Jameson's sort of a staple there, but I decided to bring up some Eagle Rare. Can I show this photo, Karina? Am I allowed to?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So I brought a bottle of Eagle Rare for them because I'm a bourbon guy, and so sharing a little bit. And so I get a picture. I think it was after midnight. I think it was like 12:05 in the morning, and I get this text on my phone from Adam and Karina. They're apparently enjoying the bottle of Eagle Rare.
A lot left over when you gave it to us.
It was a full bottle. Yep. It was unopened. I did make it all the way up to New Hampshire without drinking the bottle. Thanks for anyone who was thinking otherwise. And I got this picture back and saying that it was your birthday toast. So I definitely got a big kick out of that.
Thank you very much for it. It was delicious.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's always funny because we know you guys, and we're friends with you guys, and so I'll show up to a venue, and I sent you a message, and you were like, "Oh, come around the side door," and so here I am walking through the parking lot, with a bottle of whiskey in my hand, and security's like, "Sir, you can't be here, and I don't know what you think you're doing with that and all that." And I was like, "I'm really glad you texted me because you'd sent me this message. It was like, hey, come around the side." I was like, "No, I know these guys, and it's in a normal." A normal concert, it's a little bit weird or awkward, and then in this one, for me to be like, hey, I'm going to see the band. Can I? No, they're friends of mine, I swear. And then I get back there, and Adam was funny. He was like, "Hey, are we going to break any rule? Fuck it, Jake, come play with us." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to say no."
Yeah.
Right? So I was glad I at least got to hand the bottle off to you guys, and then go play some music.
And then we sanitized, and then we didn't stand right next to each other on the stage. We did smart, yeah.
We did. I backed off. You were like, "Oh, I sing on Miss Hallelujah." It's like, no, that's fine. I'll stand back here. And so we definitely kept minimum social distance at least. So
yeah,
we should be fine. I should be fine anyway. And you've already had it, so you should be fine.
Yeah,
I just got tested today, though. I'm negative, so I'm good, I guess.
Oh, good.
So in the week leading up to this, we had posted, there's, for those of you who don't know, and I think a lot of people on here do, but there is a Facebook group called Adam Ezra's fans. It's a whole bunch of exclamation points and number signs.
It covers the phrase "super nice and friendly."
Yes. So we asked for questions because that fan base is a rabid fan base, and I is not even joking. As Ethan and I are both musicians ourselves, peskyjnixon.com. We as musicians, and I know a lot of other musicians that really marvel at that fan base, and it's just astonishing how how keyed in these folks are, how much they care about you guys, how much they follow you guys. So I was like, all right, well, here's a little question and answer opportunity. So some folks had some questions. Michelle Gentes said, what instruments do you play? I think we've covered a 5-string fiddle, a 4-string fiddle, and a banjo just this evening. Are there any others that we should know of the accordion that this jerk had to take away from you?
My first instrument was the piano, and I still play piano whenever I get a chance. I don't have one in my apartment now, but when I have access to one, I always love playing it. I also studied music education in college, and so one of the things that they do is they make all of the students go through a semester of every. So I can play really, really terrible scales on like a clarinet or a bassoon or a tuba or like any instrument you throw at me. I'll be awful at it, but I like can kind of understand the mechanics of it. But those are the only instruments that I like play often.
Okay. Well, see, you guys both play stringed instruments. See, if it has a keyboard, I can play it, but people will be like, "Oh, you're a musician, so here, check out this awesome guitar that I have," and I'm like, "No, I don't know anything about those things."
I feel like I don't know, Jake. If you and I have sort of the different side, you've got the keyboard, I've got the strings. Like if you stick most stringed instruments in front of me, I can fiddle my way around it. Though, Karina, I fully admit I was given as a gift a 5-string banjo 5 years ago, and I spent about 2 months trying to figure it out, and it melted my brain a little bit. The entire not tuned from lowest string to highest string, my brain was like, nope, we're out. So I still pick it up every now and again, but mostly it's like, brung. That doesn't sound great.
I might have one though that Ethan, you played at least one day, and I don't know if Karina has, which was the saw.
I have.
Oh, I've never played a saw. You play saw, Ethan?
The musical saw.
Yeah.
You can get a nice sort of. It's fun for like a folky theremin alternative kind of sound. It's very odd and interesting. I like it. But yeah, it was fun. We're working on
well, you didn't. That wasn't a section in the music educator book. The musical saw.
No, lacking.
This is my face. No, go ahead.
There's a musician in New York. I believe she literally calls herself the Saw Lady. But she is so passionate about the musical saw that she's put together kits and learning things, and she teaches classes. I haven't attended any of them, but I'm part of her newsletter, and I've been getting them for like 8 years. Very passionate about the saw.
Yeah.
And,
I feel like you have to be. You can't be halfway with a musical saw.
It's not an instrument that you can pick up ambivalently. There's a definitive choice that must be made at a certain point in time. My specialty will be the saw.
I don't know where
I tried the hammer. I just couldn't make it work.
I tried to play the accordion, but I decided to go with something with a little bit more acceptance in the world, so I picked up the saw. See, that's the problem. I'm so used to making the self-deprecating accordion jokes, but now I'm insulting our guest when I do it, so I can't do that tonight. I don't want to insult Karina.
It's all good. For what it's worth, the humor is, I think the only reason Jake is comfortable making the self-deprecating accordion jokes is because he's one of the most sought-after accordion players in the Boston scene. Like the number of people, he's played backup on like 30 records of people desperately looking for accordion, which is a weird phrase that I don't think I've ever said
desperately looking for accordion.
Yeah, that's definitely. I've used all of those words. I don't think in that order though. That's a first for me.
Well, when I saw Adam started playing the accordion and Karina started playing the accordion, I was like, well, great, there goes that guest spot. I guess I'm out there. But they graciously still let me hang out once in a while. So for questions, let me see. There was one fun one, which I'm sure everyone wants to know the answer to. What's life like on the road with a bunch of boys?
I miss it. Do you believe it? I miss our smelly van, and I miss like the fart jokes, and I miss all of it. No, they are. You know them. They're an amazing group of guys. They're like my brothers. I love the shit out of them. And they treat me like a sister too. They look out for me. If we're ever like playing at a bar that's maybe making me a little uncomfortable or whatever, one of them will always kind of jump in and like be my bodyguard. It's pretty awesome actually playing in a band with those particular boys. They're good guys.
I can just see Alex just throwing down, being like,
he does.
Not today, asshole. Not
a heartbeat.
Yep. He's the quiet one, I feel like, of the band, but I feel like well, look, this is from the outside. There's this weird space between, look, we're fans of Adam Ezra Group, and then we're friends with you guys. We hang out, we've played the Ramble and stuff like that, but we're not in the van, So to me, he's the quiet one, but clearly, I might have that wrong.
Alex has some hidden talents. The next time you hang out with him, you should ask him for his Tony Clifton impression. It's incredible.
I'm writing that down. Hang on. I'm writing that in the show notes.
That I want to see.
Yeah.
That I want to see. I mean, the funny thing is, I think Jake and I tend to be inclined to sort of fall into the same sort of protective nature in our relationships with our bandmates. The only difficulty that we run into is our two other bandmates, both women, are unquestionably more badass than either of us. And I am fairly certain that if someone were to throw down, they are the people that I would want behind me in that situation. I'm pretty sure April would be the first to break a bottle and hold the.
Yeah. And Kara would run somebody through with her bow just to get to a salted pretzel. So.
We don't come up on those situations often.
You'd be surprised the number of times it's come up with us.
Oh man! So a couple people wanted to know when you are not musicianing, what are you doing, and not, I guess, chatting around the globe, or just because I have to keep going back to it. Touring internationally as part of a fiddle pop sensation.
Amazing.
I put it on your website. It's fair game.
Of those days, yeah. One of the things I do love to do, and I prioritize in my life, is travel. So even if I'm not doing it in a musical capacity, I love seeing new places. I try and do sort of one major international trip at least every 2 years, and try and go to a place that I don't have a lot of experience with, spend enough time there to get to know a city really well, or get to know an area, or just spend time with people. But if you're taking travel out of it too, I love hiking. I love being outside. And I love taking my fiddle outside too. So it all connects.
Nice. Got a question from Big in 1975, BG 1975. Who are your fiddle influences?
Ooh, my first fiddle hero. Literally the night I decided like I'm going to be a musician, I was watching Alison Krauss at the Ryman with her band, and it was all over for me. She's still one of my biggest heroes. Absolutely. I love Stuart Duncan's playing. I think he's a beautiful player. There are a ton of young players these days.
Yeah.
Alex Hargraves, what is he, 24, 25? A lot of young people now these days that are inspiring me too. And boy, that makes me sound old to say.
It's a weird thing, and I'd harbor to guess that you may be a little bit younger than we are, but we're all in the relative agey, rangy thing. There's sort of a point where you can either start just looking at everyone younger as whippersnappers, or you can just sort of be like, it's all kind of the same. And I like to think mostly I've fallen into that second category. As far as other people's reactions to me, who knows? I could be the geezer. But luckily, we play in folk music, so I'm still going to be young for 15 years.
I have as much gray hair as I do, and then people still look at me as the young whippersnapper in folk music, so it's okay. Yep.
But I am particularly interested in, and this is complete conjecture. Like, feel free to decide not to humor me, but like, you guys just had, as far as I can tell, pretty much the most successful live show within our community, certainly that I've heard of. What do you see as the next sort of step and the reasonable step, and sort of the movement as we're going to have to deal with in 3 months, because that's how the world works, from summer to not summer, when the outdoor show isn't necessarily quite as easy. And I can keep asking the question because it looks like you've frozen slightly. There you go. Oh, did you get that, or
Sorry about that.
No worries.
I think I got half of the next steps in terms of music and concerts.
Yeah, like particularly how are you guys sort of approaching? Are you looking for more opportunities like Tupelo, or are you like how are you guys sort of considering the next phase of Adam Ezra Group from a performance standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. We do have one more drive-in show coming up actually in a couple of weeks in Misquamicut, Rhode Island. That's the 22nd. We're kind of in planning stages of some other ways to play live music. In case I didn't. I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say about the other plans that we're sort of brewing yet, but I will say that there are some announcements coming imminently about some more live shows that will be done in a safe social distance manner. And we're continuing gatherings every single night. Sometimes there'll be just Adam. Sometimes it'll be Adam and a band member. Sometimes it'll be all of us.
I love how it's funny, because I've talked to a lot of musicians, friends of ours, who've been trying to figure out what this entire quarantine life as a performer means and how they're going to approach it. And I'll continually refer to you guys as sort of a model. I'm like, basically, there are lots of ways to do this, but the way they chose to do it was this commitment to a daily performance and a daily touch-in with their audience. And, the consistency of that has really galvanized an already pretty loving group of people into, I am fairly certain that a lot of these folks would follow you guys anywhere, because you really have meant that much to them. And I'm looking over into our comments, because I know a couple of people, at least our earliest and most sort of active watchers have been people that came over from the gathering to begin with. So we appreciate we appreciate you guys having the conversations with us and sort of figuring out as we figure out what we're trying to do here, but also sort of bringing that wonderful sense of community minded folks to sort of have that conversation.
Well, it's a two-way street, and how lucky are we as a band to get to have friends like you guys doing good work and being super creative and finding ways to make
Oh,
art during all this crazy time.
thank you so much.
And thank you. That's really one of the missions for us is, we've been playing music together for 14 or 15 years, and we love doing that and plan to continue doing that. But what we have discovered is an ability to help build community, and we look at you guys, at yourself and Adam and Poche and Alex, and this community that you've built, and man, if that's not a high watermark for community builders to ascribe to, it's really been incredible to see. The folks they're asking questions. One of the questions that we got from Denise Gomez McKenna, what do you do with your spare time? Which we talked to, and does she know what a sweetheart she is?
Aw.
These are folks that love the music, and you guys have found a way to, it's not just listening to a song. I haven't said this on the podcast, but a lot of times when the toast comes on, I will find my wife in our home, wherever she is, and the two of us will dance to that song. And I was pretty mad at you guys for putting it, I think, 5th or 6th, and I say mad, but I joked in the green room before that show at Tupelo, hey, do you know when Miss Holly is going to be on? And then I realized the idiocy, because there's no set lists in that band. And the song came on like 5th or 6th, and I was like, I'm not prepared, I'm not ready yet, I haven't poured the whiskey, and I'm gonna cry. And that what you guys do has just had such an impact on literally tens of thousands of people. You have this massive following in Brazil. When are you, speaking of international, when are you going to Brazil?
Oh man, as soon as it's safe. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Lord knows it's safer there than Florida.
Florida and Texas.
Yeah. Oh, let's see here. Go ahead.
I'm always sort of interested in sort of seeing the way that different, I've always approached these conversations from a musician standpoint, because that's who I am and that's sort of the way my mind works. But in particular, ways that people not only can use a platform, but to go to your earliest points, understand when, even if you have an audience, your voice isn't the voice that needs the most amplification, and sort of the ways that you do that. And, that's, I think, why Jake and I did this. And certainly we talk during this, in my case, perhaps too much. But the point of it was us finding the people whose voices and who we believe in as not just artists, but as humans. And find an opportunity not just to amplify their voice, but to have a conversation. Because what I've loved hearing about this is just understanding what drives you, and what's made this experience, which for some people has been really an interminable, awful experience, and found ways to find that silver lining, and found ways to not only find the silver lining, but to share of yourself in that moment as you're going through your own sense of discovery. And I really appreciate from you hearing that. And I've been telling Jake we should probably warn everyone, because part of the podcast always is just Ethan heaping praise on the guest, because I do honestly, we don't have anyone on the show that we don't really believe in. But I just wanted to be clear. A lot of people, there are a lot of ways to react to things like this, and they're all valid. So when I say this, I don't mean to say that if your version of the world when all this started was, I'm not going to touch my instrument, I'm not comfortable touching my instrument right now, that is a valid response. There are a lot of people that went through that, and I understand it. And I don't know if you faced anything like that, but I know a lot of friends of mine face stuff like that. And there were other people that sort of threw the gauntlet down, and you know, it sounds like Adam kind of came about it in more of an organic and or like, oh, I guess this is a thing kind of way. But the just deciding that every day was going to be that touchstone. I mean, there's so much fundamental self-discovery that comes from this. At least for me. And I would imagine for some people a purposeful non-discovery, because they're like, if you don't go through this experience learning something about yourself, I feel like effort has probably been put in at that point. Yeah. Like you stepped up and you're like, nope, not gonna do it. Stick in the course. But I'm interested in seeing what comes next from Karina, as you figure out, not just the band stuff, but you clearly sort of developed this commitment to voter registration and going down that road. What does that look like now? Like what are you thinking about with that? What do we do? I wasn't
to an audience with a clipboard right now.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Luckily, there are, I think it's 36 states right now that you can register online. And in fact, I'll throw this out there because I forgot to do it earlier. All of you who are watching or listening to this can check your registration at vote.gov. You can just make sure that you are up to date, that your address is correct, you haven't been purged for some reason, maybe if you didn't vote in the last cycle. It's a really smart idea to just check and make sure that you're still registered to vote and everything is in order. For right now, for future shows, we will be probably sticking to registering people online. And there are a handful of states. I don't think any of them are in the Northeast. In fact, I should check. There are a handful of states where you still can't register online yet. And that's a problem that needs to be addressed too. But for us, we're going to be local to New England probably for the foreseeable future. So I'll be registering people online. Yeah.
Well, if I can throw this out there, just because if I am nothing, I'm the king of overcommitting myself. But I believe entirely in what you're doing. One of the things that we've really started figuring out is how to make this particular platform work for artists. And one of the ways that we figured out how to do that is by creating systems where you can literally create a pop-up that people can scan, take a picture with their phone, and take them to wherever they go. In this case, it's a Venmo to give us money. I'm not suggesting anyone has to, but if we can provide you, Jake, did you just pull out your phone to give us money? I got to let you know that won't work out as well as you think it will. But if we can help you guys by either providing these kind of overlays for when you do stuff, or if it ever makes sense for us to host a Karina Smith event or a virtual Adam event, we'd be happy to help however we can do it.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll keep brainstorming together.
Yeah,
that's what we really want to do. Is, as I was saying before, we love making music, but really want to help get voices out there. And as with tonight, not just the voice that everybody asks for. We talked to Adam. We love talking to Adam, and then we said, okay, there's more there, and let's talk to Karina, and want to hear what she has to say. So yeah, I'll help commit as well. That whatever we can do to help you guys, let us know.
Awesome.
Well, Karina Smith, thank you so much. KarinaSmithViolin.com.
Likewise,
Adam
I think work these days for all of the community. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Karina.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Well, that was Karina Smith from the Adam Ezra Group. She's such a lovely person. I do want to apologize for some of the folks on. There were some connection problems as we went along. unfortunately part of the reality of dealing with internet-based
Can
shows.
we say that
but
that's the feedback of the internet shows? Like, that's the, you know, the squeal in the middle of a concert that you get. Like,
it is the virtual feedback. I like that. That's a good analogy. I like it. I think just what I've really adored about this experience is not just getting to have conversations. Like, Karina and I have met 4 or 5 times at Adam shows, and we've talked, and I've always found her to be lovely. I've always enjoyed our conversations. But there's a difference between meeting someone backstage at a show and getting ready to go on and actually having a conversation. And I've really, I loved, and Jake, I'll give you full credit. Karina wasn't the first person that came to mind when I was sort of thinking about doing this, not because of any reason other than that wasn't the sort of the first thought that happened. But man, she's a perfect example of someone who is wonderful, thoughtful in this community, doing things not just to help the community, but to help the greater community. And I'm just thankful that we're able to have sort of a conversation, and we're able to get a better understanding on where people are coming from. And she's coming from the best places. I love it.
Yeah. Just such a genuine person. You know, and I thought it would be interesting to have, you know, as we said, someone who's not the first person that you think of. Like, you know, we've had a lot of, you know, front people, and look, those are the people that, you know, are the most vocal. They're the people that we know the best. But it was really interesting. Similar to how we, I'll address that in a second. You know, similar to how we sort of, you know, contribute to polling. We don't have to be the one, you know, with our name on it or our face on it, said the 2 people who talk for 2 hours a week live. But it's trying to amplify other voices and trying to give other voices a platform. And so here is someone who is an incredible instrumentalist, a wonderful singer and songwriter, I believe, songwriter, wonderful musician, and a wonderful person who just really helps amplify those things. That band without Karina is not at all the same thing. And it's, I think, really similar to what we're trying to do, and just trying to make things better.
It's amazing what can be done when, you know, it's the old saying, if you want to go fastest, go on your own. If you want to go farthest, go with a group. You know, we've had the conversation. I am, physical appearances aside, I've always been, when it comes to projects, much more of a sprinter. I do things on my own. I get things done. And the sort of going through this process, understanding what's going on, not just in the great community out there dealing with the pandemic, dealing with what's going on, certainly politically across the spectrum, but just within our community, the challenges the musicians are dealing with, the challenges the creative people are dealing with, the realities, the financial realities of being a creative person today.
Yeah.
It's just made me realize for myself that I need to be gathering the people around me who are smarter than me, which I think Karina wins on that. We didn't end up asking her the GPA question, but I will hazard to guess that she puts both of us to shame.
I'm sure.
But you know, it's always really great to be able to have this conversation, and not to completely derail the conversation. But last week I shared that the day of our show, I woke up at 3 a.m. to go out and catch the sunrise, only to discover it was nothing but fog. I managed to wake up again.
There it is.
But I got a sunrise. So yeah, that was, instead of going all the way to Rockport, I went like a mile and a half away from my house. But you know, still caught it. And that to me has been one of the things is trying to think through the different ways to interact with the world. And I know it's silly, but photography has been a big thing for me in the last couple of years, and discovering how to use that to sort of see things differently and from a different perspective has been helpful. So,
well, you've wasted another perfectly good 2 hours with Ethan and Jake.
And Karina, let's be honest, they were here for Karina.
Well, that was not wasted. It was, sitting through you and me talking to get to the parts of her talk. I feel like that's how it normally goes, is sitting through you and me just to get to the to the gold that is our guests. We've had a glut of wonderful, thoughtful people. I love talking to Karina and all she's doing today. Last week's conversation with Bethlehem was just, man, my brain was blown for like 2 or 3 days after the fact. And by the way, that's going up on the YouTube channel tomorrow for everybody. That's right.
So by all means, check that out. Subscribe if you wouldn't mind. If you're still hanging out on the Twitch channel, I would say go to that arrow and hit the follow button, because I see the analytics. Not all of you are following. Right now, does it line up? Hey, it lines up. Costs you nothing. Yeah. Costs you nothing. Yeah. You can just do that, and it helps. Our virtual home on the web, as you know, is twitch.tv/Tribal Mischief. You can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Tribal Mischief Productions. Ethan, anything else before we do our final plugs and wrap-ups here? Thanks. Thanks to all, particularly thanks to the gathering folks that came over to join us. I technically misspoke. Coming over to Twitch from Facebook, if you're using a computer, you don't need to sign up for anything. You can just go to the URL and it lets you in, and you're fine. I think you might have to watch like a 30-second commercial. But if you're trying to do it on an iPhone or an iPad, you have to actually be signed up. So I apologize. There were a couple of people that discovered that and are not particularly happy with me. Just know that you should be happy with Jake. This reverse camera thing messes me up all the time. You should be happy with Jake. That was my fault. That was my bad. So I apologize to anyone that went through that. And thanks for coming anyway and spending the night with us. This is the first. Karina is the bookend of the first half of season 1. We're 6 episodes in. We got 6 episodes more to go on season 1. Then we're going to take a little break as we try to digest everything we've done and figure out sort of the next version of things, make things a little bit cleaner, nicer. If you're watching right now, I think we'll reveal our guest for next week. Is going to be a gentleman with a long and storied history on the Boston radio scene. John Laurenti is going to be joining us next Sunday to talk about his efforts in the community, and with so many of the musicians. He's got some pretty funny stories for us. So you are not going to want to miss that next Sunday at 8 p.m. on twitch.tv/Tribal Mischief. So this will be the one time I say this while we're sort of live on. But for the night of when we go live, even when we technically sign off and we go to that title card, we actually pull Karina back in and we just have a conversation off the cuff. So if you want to like stick around and listen to us just shoot the shit, you're welcome to do that. And this is literally, I will never tell people that we do this again. So this is, if you're watching this video, you now know the secret of what you get out of watching it live as opposed to after the fact. But I just really want to thank everyone for coming over, and thank you for the comments. Thank you for contributing. Like, it's one of those funny things. The way the internet works is the best way to help other people hear us, is just by letting them know. Share, say you listen to this great conversation, share one of our videos. That's really great. Subscribe, follow, all of that stuff. Subscribe over on YouTube. Again, it doesn't cost you anything, but it helps us out a bunch. And comments. You wouldn't believe the way algorithms work. You can have 1 million people watch a video, but if no one says a damn thing about it in the comments, that video is not going to be amplified nearly as much. So help us out. Let us know what you think. Even if you don't like something, let us know. We can learn. We've gotten some great feedback the last few weeks. Thank you so much to folks like Cultural Infidel and Karaoke, who I think have been with us from the beginning.
and we had so many people interacting with us tonight. It's really encouraging to see. And thank you so much, so much to the fantastic Karina Smith for joining us this evening.
She is the best.
She is.
So that being said, I am Ethan Baird. He is.
Oh, me.
He
Jake
is
Bush. Here on the left.
He is Jake, clinically sexy Bush on accordion.
On accordion.
And we'll see you all next week. It's going to be a ball. And have a good week. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Love each other.
Thank you. Good night.
You see, in that space without me, that I loved you, babe, but